אוקיי, ברוכים הבאים לעוד פרק בפודקאסט אנושיות. חצי שעה על השפעה על עשייה טוב בעידן משובש, בעידן באמת תקופה קשוחה מאוד שאנחנו חווים פה במדינת ישראל. והיום יש לי פרק מאוד מיוחד כי הוא הולך להיות באנגלית, כי אני מארחת את שד, סטיבן, I will tell his family name. I will try. It's Shedeletsky.
Shedletsky, Ken, yes.
Shedletsky.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So I will go now to English. Welcome to a new episode of the Humanity Podcast. I'm Galia Ben Chaim, and today I'm very happy to host a special guest. And it's going to be in English. And I will tell a little bit on my guest. It's Shed. Even Shed, he is known among his friends, Shed, experienced firsthand the effect that leaders, culture, lack of communication, and psychological security have on people. Very quickly, he understood that an employee who does not feel safe in his workplace will show a lack of motivation and inspiration. His work productivity will decrease, and his mental and physical well-being will be harmed. And if that's not enough, this will spread to the rest of the team. For more than a decade, Shed has contributed at Simon Sinek Company, where as Chief of Staff and Head of Brand Experience, Training and Development, he headed a global team of speakers and facilitators. In his engaging and dynamic style, Steven speaks, leads workshops, and coaches leaders and organizations to listen and nurture the voices of others. He is the author of the book Speak Up Culture. When leaders truly listen, people step up. Welcome.
Thank you so much. And thank you for doing this episode in English for me, because it wouldn't go very far if we did it in Hebrew today. So thank you.
So I want you to share with us why you decided to bring up and encourage the concept of speak up cultures.
So for a couple of reasons. So one of my favorite quotes right now is from a Danish theologian named Kierkegaard, who says, "Life makes sense looking backwards, but it must be lived forwards." So as I wrote this book and I reflected upon why did I write it, it's very clear to me. One is I grew up with a stutter. I grew up with a speech impediment. I married a speech pathologist. Good choice for me and for my kids. And so I know very intimately the feeling of being voiceless, to have something to say, but to fear saying it, or to fear being even able to say it. So that's one. And then the other is over my career, Galia, I've seen and experienced the difference between teams that do have a speak up culture and teams that don't, or even teams that once had it and then lost it because of a change in their leaders. And I saw how inspiring and creative those organizations that had a speak up culture, and how toxic and destructive and bad for business it was for those organizations that no longer had a speak up culture. That if you spoke up and felt you were doing the right thing, you might get ignored or punished. So I want far more of the former cultures where people feel that it's safe and worth it to speak up.
So what was the point that the transformations you made by yourself?
Say more, the sort of the transformation. Say a little bit more so I know I'm answering the question properly.
Wow. Because you get over, you get the courage. Mm-hmm. You get over the fear.
Yes.
And learn to speak up your own voice.
Yes. So I think there's two things there. So one is um for me personally, um I realized in grade six I knew I needed help.
Mm.
So I was in school, and I was in French class because we study French in Canada, and I couldn't say the word très in French. Très is like the third word you learn in French. It means very. Très bien, like we all know it. And I couldn't say that word. And I had a very embarrassing moment in class when I couldn't say it. And so I knew at that point I needed to get help. I went home to my mom. I said, Mom, let's go get help. And so I went to speech therapy and I got help. And then from that point forward, I just kept taking modest, reasonable tests, putting myself out there, speaking a little bit more, being part of a camp theater production, just little things. And then there was a really big moment of transformation when I was in business school in a public speaking class, and our professor gave us an assignment to show up to the next class to give a talk with as much passion as Dr. Martin Luther King. He shared Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, and he said, everyone come back next class 5 minutes and match that passion. And so I knew, there were people who spoke of their favorite sports team or their favorite sport or their favorite, ice cream flavor. But I knew I needed to speak about my fear of overcoming public speaking. And it was that moment when I spoke about something personal and vulnerable, not for me, but to help others,
Yeah.
that I got hooked. And I'm like, I want to keep doing that.
Mm.
And then the other was being parts of teams and seeing the difference in teams when there was a speak up culture and when there wasn't. I had witnessed in others and had done so myself, where I spoke up because I felt it was the right thing to do, but got in trouble. And I'm like, what? Like, what's going on here? And so I thought there has to be a better way, and I wanted to contribute to that better way.
Wow. So I can hear your inner values that help you find the needs, insist of get over the fear.
Yeah. Courage, perhaps. Yeah.
Courage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that so two things about courage. One is, I think very few people go like, okay, I'm going to be courageous now.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes when we're courageous, we realize looking backwards, in the moment, there was no other choice. In the moment, the choice was very clear. And I think the other thing that gives us more courage is the people we have around us. I think courage travels in company, that all of a sudden we have more courage when we have people who support us and have our back and who even speak up with us.
Yeah. So it's lead me to a sentence that I saw you wrote. We all deserve to feel we matter. It's in your site. Can you please tell us a little bit about how can you find what people want? How can people how can we make people feel they matter?
Yes. I mean, mattering matters. When people feel as though they matter, they have a sense of purpose, they have confidence, they have dignity, they have belonging, they feel that they can contribute. The thing that I love about humanity and human beings is every single human being on this planet has a strength, has strengths.
Yes.
We all do. Every single human being.
Yeah.
And ironically, we can be blind to our own strength.
Yeah.
Because we take it for granted.
Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example. I love communicating ideas and feelings in clear words. I love doing it, and I'm always thinking of better ways to communicate things. So I'll be driving in the car, going for a walk, in the shower. Boom, something will come up. I think that everyone must think of emails, text messages, and social media posts while they're in the shower. As it turns out, we don't, right? But that's my point of view, and that's my perspective. And
Yeah.
so we all have these things. I call them superhuman magic tricks. We all have them. And I think the work of leadership, which is, leading oneself as well as supporting and helping to lead others, it's the work of figuring out what are our strengths and then how can we amplify and cultivate them. Because when folks realize the strengths that they have and then use them, and then now we can throw in purpose, use their strengths to contribute to something bigger than themselves and bigger than profit, we feel we matter, and we simply perform, give more, feel better. So yes, mattering matters a lot.
Yeah. I wish more organizations and business company will get to know the importance of the bring the empathy and listening skills to in their culture, that people can feel that they matter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, and it's hard work. I mean, it's the work of leadership. It requires patience and empathy, but ironically, those leaders and organizations who do it tend to have better performing organizations and cultures anyway. So it's really worthwhile work.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you something about the core values and purpose, and how it's connect with the culture and and with the speak up culture, with the listening skills, because I found still now that a lot of businesses cannot, or it's difficult for them to find the connection between the higher purpose and compass value with profit, with the bottom line.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, those aren't opposing forces; those complement each other. So, one of the examples I like to use. So if you look at, there's one huge company, a consumer packaged goods company called Procter and Gamble, right? And if you look at Procter and Gamble, every single one of their products either directly or indirectly touches human skin. Every single one. And so they have a purpose right there. And it's bigger than profit, and has the capability to inspire people both internally to the company as well as customers, vendors, fans, anyone. And that purpose could be, we literally touch people's lives every single day, and we strive to make them just a little bit better. That's a wonderful purpose, right? Now, if it's only a marketing slogan and isn't the lived experience on the inside of that company, if you just market it but don't live it, if anything, that actually might do harm, because the engagement of your employees will go down because there's a cynical point of view. Yeah, that's just marketing. That's not how I feel. But if it's felt from the inside, that employees and vendors and partners and even customers, when they buy from the company and feel that in the way that they're treated in the products that they have, then you have something truly powerful. And the thing that Simon Sinek points out in his latest book, The Infinite Game, is in the infinite game, these games, business, career, life, there's two currencies. One is resources, time, people, money. The other is the will of the people. And when people show up to work and they feel that their work is connected to a higher purpose, bigger than profit, they end up giving more because they want to. They feel emotionally connected and invested in the work and the people around them as well. And so when you have a purpose that people inside of your organizations feel connected to, feel that they can contribute toward, and then even people outside of the organization feel part of it as well. There are people who will tattoo Harley Davidson to their shoulder and don't even own the product, right?
Yeah.
It's because that logo means something,
Yeah.
right? So when you have higher purpose, when employees feel connected to it, they give more, they give better ideas, they speak up, they innovate, and you end up developing more loyalty both inside the organization and as well folks outside of the organization, whether it's vendors, customers, or simply fans.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think it's affect the all stakeholders.
Yes, if it's genuine and lived, absolutely.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you because we are now in a period of a lot of crisis, and over the 4 years from the COVID, we going through from crisis to crisis. It's like a cycle. And I heard someone yesterday told me, the next crisis, the gap between the AI and the EI is so big, and it's knock on our door, the effect of the gap, and we are not developed enough the EI, the intelligence, human, because I think that your one of your aim of the book, the speak up culture, the listening, is connect to this next crisis. So what is the dangerous, if you can?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I've heard the term polycrisis is what we have now, where there's COVID, there's civil rights, there's peace, there's the information war, how the algorithm is just pulling us apart.
Yeah.
So I mean, AI, artificial intelligence, it is and can be hugely powerful, and can even work at speeds and complexity of computing that are seemingly smarter than human beings. However, critical thinking is still really valuable. And so, I saw evidence. There was an article I saw around how physicians, so doctors, are increasingly under time pressure. They're rushed. They spend less time with patients. And so they actually put the emails and the letters that doctors would write against emails that AI would write. And AI was far more empathetic than doctors, which is interesting.
Wow.
But the difference is that we can have AI work for us, but I think we still need to have technology work in our favor and not the other way around. I think it can be a hugely powerful tool, but we still need human beings to show up, to think critically, to be creative, to look and see if AI is behaving appropriately, or if AI is actually getting in the way and sending us down paths that aren't effective. I mean, we live in an era where the word of the year for 2023 from Merriam-Webster dictionary was authentic. And I think authentic because we're missing it.
Yeah.
It's so easy to be inauthentic, but yet seem authentic. And so, I'm interested in AI. I think there's a huge and a ton of power in AI. But yeah, I think we need to still put our humanity ahead of AI. Will be I think a real interesting challenge.
Yeah. What inside the authentic skills? What is the conscience authentic?
Yeah. So the way I define authenticity is when we say and do the things that we actually believe. I mean, authenticity is when people experience us in a way that they consistently feel that you're genuine, right?
Yeah.
And so I think AI can can trick us, but I think over time the consistency of it will get in the way. I mean, just like we can feel when it's a bot that's emailing us or texting us or writing us a message on our social media platform, you know, it'll keep getting better and better, but you know, there are ways that we have to test it and push it. So yeah, authenticity is when we show up as we are consistently. One of the things that I think people get wrong is when talking about leadership, they think leaders are warm and charismatic. Not necessarily. Some of the best leaders I've had are cold and grumpy, but they cared about me. They had empathy and compassion. They had my back. So, you know, when you experience something or someone in a consistent way and in a way that you feel is genuine and represents their values, they're being authentic.
Okay. What skills do managers and leaders need to develop and study in order to create and cultivate speak-up culture in the organizations and teach their people to accept and maintain it?
Yes. So I'm a really big fan of not only skills, but also attributes. So a friend of mine who's a retired U.S. Navy SEAL, his name is Rich Divini. He actually wrote this book right here called The Attributes. So skills we can learn or teach.
Okay.
Skills are like learning to walk, talk, type in a computer, ride a bike, right? But when we're teaching our kid how to ride a bike and they fall off and scrape their knee, now their attributes are showing. Do they persevere and keep going? Do they give up and they can't be in a room with a bicycle for the next 3 weeks? Neither of these things are right or wrong. They just are. And so skills are important. I would say listening is a skill, but an attribute, which is far more innate, and we can develop them. But an attribute would be like empathy and compassion. I don't think empathy and compassion are skills. I think they're attributes. They're human attributes.
Yeah.
And for some of us that are higher on them, it's more easy for us to develop and display them in our behavior. It doesn't mean that others who are less empathetic can't.
Yeah.
They just have to work harder at it. And we need to equip them with training, development, and even tips. So I think some of the attributes necessary to create a speak-up culture, curiosity, right?
Yeah.
Curiosity is an attribute, right? But yet we can give people questions like, what matters about that to you? You know, even things like, tell me more about that. You know, to resist that urge to shut someone down, give them the answer. You can actually equip people with tools to become more curious. Wow. I think another attribute that's really important is humility, you know, humility, which is a modest view of oneself.
Yeah.
You know, realizing that you're human and you're imperfect, right? And so you can both be confident and humble at the same time, but you cannot be humble and arrogant at the same time. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. So I think curiosity, humility, courage, courage to admit that you don't know, courage to ask a question, courage to be vulnerable or to look stupid or silly.
Yeah.
So I think those are some of them. Empathy, compassion, those are definitely some of both a mix of skills and the attributes that leaders and managers need to develop a speak-up culture.
Very interesting. And how you encourage them to maintain this? Because I think it's something that you have every day to be better than yesterday.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I specifically wrote this book for leaders.
Yeah.
And when I say leaders, I mean either a capital L or lowercase l leader.
Yeah.
So a capital L leader is one who has the formal title, and we expect them to behave as a leader. But just because you have the title of leadership doesn't make you a leader. You can have the title but not behave as a leader, then you're a boss hole. You're not a leader, right? But you can also be a lowercase l leader, which means you don't have the title, but you choose to behave as a leader does. And we've shared some of these behaviors: courage, humility, authenticity, empathy, compassion, service orientation, decisiveness, accountability, right? When things go well, you give credit. When things don't go well, you take responsibility. These are the behaviors of leaders.
Yeah.
So my favorite quote on leadership right now comes from that same author and my friend Rich Davini, which is, leaders aren't born, leaders aren't even made, leaders are chosen based upon the way that they behave.
Amazing.
And it's the same thing. Like, I'm a parent of young kids. I want to be a great parent. Does it mean that I'm a perfect parent at all moments every single day? No. Does it mean that some days I'm better than others? Yes. But do I wake up every day striving to behave as what I believe a great parent to be, which means I leave space for my kids to have emotions. I support my kids. I don't put them in the direction that I want them to go. I take the time to figure out where they can go and what their potential can be. Yeah. So, none of us can declare ourselves a great leader or a great parent or a great listener. Yeah. That's bestowed by the people around us based on how they experience us and how we behave.
Amazing. Wow. Okay, we are close to end this session, and the second sentence that I wanted to ask you, you wrote, when the human in me sees the human in you, we make progress. I think it's good for closure to take whatever what we spoke in the time, and to explain what did you mean.
Yes. So I fully admit, Galia, that I wrote a philosophy book disguised as a business book. What I wish to see more of in the world is what I wrote about. And what do I want to see more of? I want to see more people from different perspectives and points of view connecting, experiencing harmony, respecting each other, even having peace. And so I look at what's going on in the world today with division, with polarity, whether it's in society, government, politics, or between nations or between communities. I mean, I look at what's going on in the world where you are today, between Israel and Gaza and the West Bank. When we can see one another's humanity, it's very hard for us to hate each other. It's very hard for us to destruct each other. And so what I wish to see more of, what I wish to contribute to more of, is the human in me seeing the human in you. And we'll treat each other with greater acceptance, understanding, tolerance, love, coexistence. It's really around coexistence. And there's a great quote that I put in the book from, I think it's James Baldwin, that says something to the effect of, we can disagree and still love each other so long as your disagreement isn't rooted in my oppression and denies my right to exist.
Wow. Disagreeing
is actually very healthy. But disagreeing to the point where we oppress and destruct each other is not helpful. So we can still disagree and see each other's humanity. We need more of that.
Amen. We can use a little bit of that in our part of the world these days, even among us Israelis.
Yeah.
So I feel that you gave us a gold chain in my hand now, in my heart.
Great. Spread it, please.
Okay. So something to finish? You want to say?
I'm still thinking about this AI, because I think AI can be so powerful so long as it helps us be more human and doesn't do the very opposite. So
I think this is the key, because we have to be the master and not the slave. We are not the slave. We are the master.
Yeah. Unless this is all just one large algorithm and we're just living in a simulation. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah. No, it was a joy to join you. And, Yeah, know that we can all be leaders should we choose to behave as a leader.
Yeah.
And if you choose to behave as a leader, your whisper is a shout and your tiptoes are stomps. That
Wow.
your words and your actions matter. So pay attention.
Thank you very much. תודה רבה, רבה, רבה. I enjoy, and this session will go in 2 weeks. And I will tell you, of course, before. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was, wow, delicious.
Thank you. Metsuyan. Thank you very much. Thank you
Bye,
very
bye,
much.
bye. We'll be in touch.
Enjoying it. Yes,
Yeah.
take care. Shalom.
Bye, bye.